It was late, the kind of late where the world seems to hold its breath, and shadows stretch longer than they should. The moon hung high, casting an eerie glow over the quiet, empty streets. The silence was almost deafening, broken only by the occasional rustle of leaves or distant bark of a dog. Inside her small apartment, she was alone, getting ready for bed. The routine was familiar, almost comforting. She brushed her teeth, the rhythmic motion of the brush against her teeth a soothing ritual. But tonight, something felt off. The air seemed heavier, the shadows darker. She couldn't shake the feeling that she was being watched. As she looked into the mirror, her reflection stared back at her. But then it happened. Her reflection smiled. A slow, sinister smile that sent chills down her spine. She never did. Her own face remained frozen in shock and horror. It was as if the mirror had a life of its own, a malevolent presence that was mocking her. Terrified, she spun around to find nothing. The room was empty, just as it had been moments before. The shadows seemed to dance on the walls, playing tricks on her mind. She could feel her heart pounding in her chest, the sound echoing in the silence. She took a deep breath, trying to calm herself, but the fear was overwhelming. But when she looked back at the mirror, the reflection was still there, still smiling. It was a smile that didn't belong to her, a smile that spoke of dark secrets and hidden terrors. She felt a cold sweat break out on her forehead, her hands trembling as she reached out to touch the mirror. The glass was cold and unyielding, but the reflection seemed almost alive, its eyes following her every move. She backed away slowly, her eyes never leaving the mirror. The hallway behind her was dark, the lights flickering ominously. She felt a sense of dread wash over her, as if something terrible was about to happen. She wanted to run, to escape the nightmare that was unfolding before her, but her legs felt like lead. Gathering all her courage, she turned and ran down the hallway. Her footsteps echoed loudly in the silence, each step a desperate attempt to escape the terror that was chasing her. She glanced over her shoulder, and for a moment, she thought she saw a shadowy figure lurking in the darkness. But when she looked again, it was gone. She reached for her phone, hoping to call for help, but there was no signal. The screen remained blank, mocking her with its silence. She felt a wave of frustration and fear wash over her. She was trapped, alone in the darkness with no way to call for help. Desperate, she hid in the closet, peeking through the small crack in the door. She could hear her own breathing, loud and ragged in the confined space. She held her breath as a shadow passed by, her heart pounding in her chest. She prayed that whatever it was wouldn't find her. After what felt like an eternity, she slowly emerged from the closet. The room was empty, the shadows still dancing on the walls. She let out a sigh of relief, but the fear still lingered. She knew she wasn't safe, not yet. She looked back at the mirror, and the reflection was still there, still smiling. It was a smile that haunted her, a smile that she knew she would never forget. She felt a shiver run down her spine as she realized that the nightmare was far from over. The reflection was a part of her now, a dark presence that would always be with her. Credits none. Edits